Great.
Amazing. I'm so excited to be here with you all and see your shining, smiling faces. For those of you who were here yesterday, there were some stories that were told that were all very, very moving. And I feel moved to share a little bit about my story before I dive into my presentation today. So when I was 22 years old, back in, I think it was 2007, I had a younger sister, and she was 18, and she struggled from depression, and she actually took her own life. And it was, obviously really tragic and a very challenging time for my family and I. But I think, so much of what we talked about yesterday was owning who you are and sharing your life, right? And I think in this society, sometimes doing that is hard to do. And I think my sister had this misperception that she wasn't supposed to do that. She was this really creative, very interesting, fun, sort of wild person. And I think she thought that she was supposed to do the opposite. And I'm really here today to tell you that we're supposed to do the opposite of that. We are supposed to share our light. That's what we're here to do. And that's why I'm in this career, is to help people do just that. So, in my over 10 years of doing this work, well, let me just start this way. So, as this lovely lady said, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Claudette. As Claudette said, I help highly driven men and women use their strengths and leverage their unique gifts and their personality in order to grow their business or find new success in their careers. And in the 10 or so years that I've been doing this work, I've really found through everything I've learned from clients and my own research that there are really two things that can support us in sharing our light and getting to where we want to be. And I'm so excited to share those with you guys today. Who wants to hear the two secrets?
Woo!
Okay, so let's dive into the two secrets of how to use your unique strengths to create success. So the first secret we're going to go over are the success vampires. The success vampires, and we're going to talk about how people pleasing is actually your secret weapon. And when I say success vampire, I mean that thing that's kind of just like sucking away your success, and you're like, wait a second, why am I not doing as well as I want to be doing, okay? The second thing we're going to talk about that I get so excited about is the 5 levels of success. This is really the #1 tool to be able to unleash your potential. There's so much with this one, so we're going to dive into a lot of information, so hold on to your hats. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, where do we go here? Okay, so as you can see, we've got these 2 little fingers, right? We've got the one that's like the vampire finger, and this is just the gal trying to live her life, right? But this guy back here is like all the people pleasing and all of the perfectionism that is really tearing away at her ability to do what she wants to do here in this world and in her career, right? But I'm going to talk about, we're going to go through the example of people pleasing, and we're going to see how it's not exactly how we think it typically might be, okay? But basically, these are these kind of like unnecessary barriers to success, right? These success vampires, okay? So let's go over people pleasing first. So what is people pleasing? People pleasing is someone or something that wants to please people. Pretty self-explanatory, right? And when, if you go ahead and look up people pleasing, if you just Google it, you're gonna find a lot of things like this, okay? As you can see, we have how to stop being a people pleaser but still be you, right? How to know if you're being a people pleaser and what to do about it. And 11 tips to stop being a people pleaser with science, right? So we are really being told everywhere we look, there's really this pervasive message out there that people pleasing is this really negative thing, right? It's this really, really bad thing, and you really don't want to do it, right? So this is what the message is, right? And I started thinking about it. I'm like, wait a second. As long as my perception is like, all right, I kind of have people pleasing in me. I mean, that's like a little bit of a part of me, right? And that people pleasing is negative, then I am placing a limitation on myself that does not serve me or other people, right? Or it has me having to do all of this learning and all of this overcoming in order to eradicate this thing that is really pretty core for me, right? But then what I started to realize is I'm like, you know what? People pleasing is just a concept. It's just a concept, similar to perfectionism, right? This success vampire is just a concept. It's not necessarily good, it's not necessarily bad, like anything, it is layered, right? And it exists on a spectrum. So, yes, on the one hand, what people pleasing may look like is I'm really scared of disappointing people. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put myself in a position where I'm doing all this work to make sure other people feel good, but I do it at my own detriment. But then, because of what I'm being told by society about people pleasing being really bad, I actually made myself wrong for doing that, right? So now I'm like shaming myself because I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't be people pleasing on top of all of it, right? So yes, at this end of the spectrum of people pleasing, we are using people pleasing as a crutch, okay? So when we're using people pleasing as a crutch from that more maybe bad or negative end, we are going to feel drained because we're doing all of this work to gain approval from others, right? We're gonna face uncertainty and indecision because as we're doing this work to gain approval from others, we start to lose a sense of who we are. Wait, like, did I really want to do this or did I just do that for this other person? I'm not even sure anymore, so now I can't really make decisions because I don't really know myself, right? And what this creates is one-sided relationships where maybe we're getting a ton of value to this person, but they're not seeing the value, or maybe they're not taking our advice, or they don't want what we're giving, or they're not appreciating it, right? And so then what happens is all of a sudden we have these unwanted resentments. We're like, I don't want to be mad at you, but I feel mad at you because I just gave you all this good stuff and you're not even hearing it, right? And so what that creates is a loss of our own authenticity. Now, like Dr. Sharon was saying, right, we're wearing that mask. We don't know who we are. We're presenting to the world in a way where we're like, is this even really me, right? And then our worthiness becomes contingent upon approval, okay? But it is possible to use our people pleasing on the other side of the spectrum. And when we use it on the other side of the spectrum, we are actually using it as a skill, okay? There's a crutch people pleasing and there's a skill people pleasing. Now, if you people please in business, if you have that ability, right, you're gonna have this amazing sense of what people may want and what people may need, right? You're gonna be able to really have insight into your clients and customers because you're just gonna get it. You have that intuitive sense, right? And you're gonna be able to use that sensitivity to help you and help them, right? Create wins for both people. What we're gonna do in relationships is we're gonna create a balanced connection where it's not one-sided and we're really creating win-wins between all of us, right? We have that balanced connection. When we're using it as a skill, we're helping from true desire and care. You know the difference, like the felt sense that we have when you're like, oh my God, I really want to see you get what you want because it feels so good to me, versus, oh my God, I'm doing all this helping, like I hope you get what you want, but I'm like so drained, right? There's such a difference between those things because we're using it as a skill versus a crutch. So when I'm in that skill place, I no longer have, I'm not giving from responsibility or obligation, right? I'm not like, oh, I have to do this. I'm like, I want to do this. This feels good. Helping feels good, and that's what we're here for, okay? We're gonna solidify our bond with other people through our authentic self-expression, knowing who we are and being ourselves, and we are gonna make our own empowered decisions, okay? So, as you can see, there are these two different ways, again, of using people-pleasing on the spectrum of people-pleasing. It's not just one thing, a crutch versus a skill, okay? So, what I wanna ask you guys is, what would be different, right? What is good about using people-pleasing as a skill as opposed to a crutch? Yes?
You're anticipating and intuitively know the needs of your clients.
Yes, you're anticipating them. You're like, I know what it is that you're gonna wanna need, and I'm here for it, right? Yes, what else? What else is good about, using people-pleasing as a skill? Yes?
You want to share the joy in what somebody else is doing, and that comes across, rather than trying to get something out of them.
Yes. We're not transactional. We're transformational. We're like, I'm loving this. Like, I have so much joy in me. My cup is full. I'm not giving from an empty cup. I'm using people-pleasing as a skill. Exactly. So, using people-pleasing as a skill is a way that we can cut back on that success vampire that's telling us, no, it's negative, and you use it as a crutch, right? Okay, so now we're gonna pull this in to using these 5 levels of success, and I'm gonna tell you how these are related. We're gonna see that in just a second. But this is really the #1 tool for everything, for getting so much of what you want, and we're gonna talk about this. So, I know when I first got into business, like, I am a coach, but I realized in order to be in business, I had to acquire all these skills that I didn't necessarily have, right? I was like, oh, the marketing, the selling, the onboarding, the processes, the delegating, the outsourcing, and all of these different sort of business skills that I was like, I don't know if this is like me, right? Like, how do I do this? And on top of that, there was this message that like I should be going at a certain pace. And really it's the idea of hustle culture. And we're inundated, similar to people pleasing, with this message that like we need to go, we need to do, we need to be on, right? We have to be posting all the time, we have to be on every single social media outlet ever known to man, right? And I really started to feel disconnected from the way that other people were doing business. And it put me in a position where I felt really unsure and uncertain, right? And I think this happens for us as women. We're always being told, what we should be, or what we are supposed to be, right? Or what we're expected to be. And then we question ourselves against those expectations and shoulds, okay? So I want to tell you a quick story about one of my clients. We'll call her Mandy. So when Mandy came to me, she was feeling a lot of guilt. And she basically throughout the week would take time out of her schedule for herself. She was like, would just like take time for herself. But she felt so bad about it because she felt like she should be working during that time. And she couldn't like reconcile with herself the fact that she was taking this time for herself, so much so that she started lying to her assistant about what she was doing. So she was like, Aaliyah, I'm feeling so much guilt and I really don't want to be. And I was like, why are you feeling all this guilt? What's going on? And she was like, I just feel that I should be working really like all of the time and I shouldn't take this time out for myself. And as we started coaching, we started to uncover that she had this belief, this perception that success meant working all of the time and being productive all of the time. And what she began to realize is, no, actually, her taking that time for herself was her time to refuel herself so that she could pour her creativity and excitement and all of that into her work. And the results that she had created so far in her work were because she took the time for herself. But she had been living with years with this guilt. So like, it might not seem like a big thing at first, but if you can imagine just this like little bit of guilt that's always in your every single day, right? It becomes like a low grade fever that you kind of know is there, but you kind of just push away because you don't want to think about it, right? And after coaching together, she was able to really see that this is part of my, what we call unique success formula, okay? So what this is basically, we all have different ingredients that we need specifically in order to be our best. It's like a cherry pie, right? Like we put in the sugar, we put in the flour. I don't know, I don't make cherry pies, but like I'm assuming it's what goes in it. And then the cherry pie tastes great. And for her, taking this time out was really part of it. So she had spent years being in this guilt, but finally was able to switch it and say like, oh my gosh, it's true. That time that I take is necessary for me, right? So, okay. So really what this speaks to is the fact that it is so important for us to identify not what other people are telling us we should need, or not what we think we should need, or obviously think success might be, but what our own strengths and needs are. So how do we do that? How do we identify our needs and strengths and proactively meet them? How do we do that? We do it through the 5 levels of success, okay? So we're gonna be talking about these 5 levels of success, and this is an incredible tool created by one of the key players in the personal development industry. His name is Bruce Schneider, okay? And we're gonna be going through each level of success and how it can hinder or how it can help us. You guys ready for these 5 levels?
Yeah.
Yes, let's bring it. Okay, so basically, before I dive in, with these levels, if we're kind of existing at the lower levels, we are not going to magnetize success towards ourselves. It's kind of almost like we're living under a cloud a little bit, and we're like, oh, why me? Why are these things happening to me? Of course this happens again, or we're getting frustrated, and we're existing in kind of those lower emotional states, okay? When we are at higher levels, we're all of a sudden magnetizing success our way, right? We're all of a sudden seeing the results that we want, and we're in a higher level of what he calls energy. So he calls it levels of energy, but you might as well think of it as 5 different perspectives, 5 different levels of success, 5 different attitudes that we occupy. And we're always going through these at any given day, at any given time. We are all in one of these levels, okay? So, okay. So level 1, we are in victim mentality. Now when I say victim, I know there's a lot of different connotations with that word. For the purposes of this, we're really seeing it as I am at the effect of my life instead of the cause. So when we're existing at level 1, we're like, oh my God, like of course this would happen to me. This is so frustrating. I can't believe I'm going through this again, but I can because this always happens to me. If we're thinking about new entrepreneurs at level 1 who are experiencing level 1, a lot of the experience will be overwhelmed. I'm so overwhelmed by all the different ways I could go and all the tasks that I have to do, the shiny objects out there, like I don't know which direction to go. Managing my time is becoming really difficult because I'm not sure how to prioritize myself, right? And when we stay in that level, we're really in a space where we're not attracting success, okay? We can also be procrastinating, but also paralyzed because we don't know like how to move forward, or we can be in a lot of perfectionism on the crutch end of that, okay? So, with level 2, we are experiencing conflict. We're experiencing conflict. So, as opposed to level 1 where we're like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? At level 2, we're like, well, it's your fault, right? It's the other person's fault, or it's the experience's fault, or it shouldn't have been like this, or this isn't what I expected. So at level 2, we're moving forward with a little like anger energy, a little frustration energy, which is cool in a way because we can get a lot of things done when we like have that stress. But again, it's stress. So we're letting our stress kind of impact the way we move forward. If we're thinking about emerging business owners, entrepreneurs, like many of us are, what this level looks like is I have to prove myself in order to get ahead. I have to let them know that like I'm an expert, I know how to do this, right? So we're in a proving space, or we're in a control space. I need to control the situation. We're seeing things as very black and white. We're not seeing an expanded view of what is possible for us when we're in this level 2 space. And this is how a lot of leaders run their businesses, truly. There's a lot of level 2 out there. You can kind of spot it if you're walking down the street at lunch. I actually saw someone who was like, why did that biker just like fly past me like that? And it brought on a whole bunch of level 2 outside, and I was just watching the level 2 go down. It was really interesting. But this happens, we're human, right? So, okay. So level 3 is responsibility. So this is where we actually start to take responsibility for our thoughts, feelings, and actions. We know that our life is up to us, and we are the ones who choose to live it in the way that we want to live it, no matter what happens around us, right? So we're taking responsibility for ourselves, for our actions. And one of the downfalls of this level is we may settle. May say like, okay, you know what, I'll make this situation okay for me, but you know what, I may not okay, yesterday Dr. Tina was talking about YouTube, right? She was saying everyone needs to get on YouTube. So we might say like, you know what, I'll do like one YouTube video this week, and like, it's fine if I don't do any for the next month. I just have like a lot of other things to do, and like, you know what, it doesn't really matter if I get up there or not, because like, maybe no one will see it, so I'm just gonna make this like okay for me to do this once. So we're not gonna reach for like higher levels of success if we ever say like, you know what, it is what it is. It's a very level 3 thing to say, because we're settling on what works, okay? Okay, moving on to level 4. So level 4 is concern. But I like to think of level 4 as wanting the other person to win. So this is really what we were talking about back in people pleasing, using it as a skill. When we're using it as a skill, we're gonna be like, I want you to get what you want truly from the bottom of my heart. Like, it would make me so happy to see you get what it is you want, right? So at level 4, we are caring for our clients. We are caring for all the people around us. If you're giving a speech at level 4, you're like, oh my God, help these people, right? Because you're seeing like, I want them to get this message, and I know how important it will be for them, right? That's where we're coming from at that level 4 experience. So for an entrepreneur going through level 4, they're gonna feel drawn to just like, I have to get this out there. I have to help people. I know that my service is needed. I'm gonna use my service in order to help as many people as I can. So you can imagine the difference between that versus someone at level 2 who's like, I have to prove it, I have to do it, I have to, make money, I have to, whatever it is, right? You can imagine the felt difference of those levels, okay? So, level 5 is reconciliation. I like to think of level 5 as a level of opportunity. So at level 4, where we're like, I really care so much about you, which is great. At level 5, we're in a place of win-win. So we're like, listen, I want to play this game, but only if you win and I win. We're both gonna get what we want out of this so that we can create possibilities for everyone, right? At level 5, there are no problems. We're not seeing problems. There are only opportunities. There are only possibilities. So when you're operating as a business owner at level 5, you are going to attract a lot of opportunities for you because you are always seeing opportunities, right? So this is really a level where we make lemonade out of lemons. There are no lemons. We're like, lemon's great. It's time to make lemonade. I'm hot anyway. I could use a drink, right? That is a true level 5 experience. So let me ask you guys, what is good about understanding what level you or others may be operating in? What's good about this?
Is your point you broke from?
Gives you a point to work from. Say more.
Well, because if you know where you're at, you can know where you need to be and how to grow to it versus just struggling where you are, not knowing where to go and where you're at.
100%. I think what you're really speaking to is awareness, right? Awareness. Oh, I'm just at level 1. I gotta kick myself up to level 3 or 4 right now, right? Exactly. What else is good about knowing what level of success we're operating at? Yes.
You can become more self-aware, and you can also identify your triggers or your pain points more easily. And then that helps you move forward, right?
Yes, exactly. I'm so glad you said that. When you're identifying triggers, right, you could say, oh my God, this trigger, this person kind of like brushed me off. That totally put me into a level 2. Now I'm angry. All right, I'm gonna stay here for a minute, but really want to kick myself back up to level 5, right? Yes, identifying triggers, that's it. So, okay, I do have something to offer you guys today. Do you want to hear about this offering?
Woo!
Woo! I said, do you want to hear about this offering? Awesome. Okay, so today I want to offer you guys the ELI assessment and debrief session. So quickly, as you can see here, there are actually 7 levels, but because of the timing, I didn't have time to get to the last 2. But you can see that at level 6, there's visionary and 7's creator, so you can kind of imagine what's possible at even higher levels of success. And this is an assessment. This is an assessment that basically shows you exactly a blueprint of where right now you are resonating, you exist in terms of magnetizing success your way, right? So this is a sample assessment where you can see that this person is a high level 4, right? They're spending most of their time in like concern and caregiving, right? But they do have a percentage in victim, which is okay. But we would look at that and say like, okay, what happens in those moments for you, right? And how do we shift it into higher levels of success? Because that's what we're all here to do, right? So with the ELI assessment and debrief session, basically you take the assessment, which is a 20-minute online assessment, and then what it's gonna do, the assessment alone, you're gonna get so much clarity about where you live typically in terms of these different levels, right? And what you were saying in terms of awareness, you're gonna be aware, oh, this is why or why not I am attracting or not attracting the things I want to into my life, right? Clarity, how do my reactions and beliefs and attitudes impact my results? What are those reactions and beliefs for myself? Then with the session, you're gonna get roadmap and direction, right? So you're gonna understand, okay, if I exist at this level, what's the interplay for me between level 4 and level 1? So with the people-pleasing thing, a lot of times with people-pleasing, we're really driven to help, and then all of a sudden we fall into a level 1, we're like, oh my gosh, do I even have to do this? Or a level 2 where we're like, what are they expecting of me, right? So with a lot of my clients, we identify that exact point where we move from a level 4 into a level 2 or level 4 into a level 1 and talk about what happens and how that happens for them specifically. So you're gonna identify how resistance shows up and be able to eliminate the resistance. We all face resistance, right? But resistance exists in a level 1 or level 2. So imagine if we look at our resistance, we're like, oh, we're just in a level 1 or level 2. How can I get into a level 5 or use level 5 to break through the resistance? Can you imagine like using an opportunity to break through the resistance that you have on your own? So cool, so cool. And we're gonna create an aligned blueprint for shifting energy to get to your goals that you have in your life and your business. So many of my clients have used this in order to create a lot of success in their lives and inside of their businesses. You can kind of read and see some of these, a lot of different business owners in terms of, doubling their income, but which is awesome. Really getting through the habits that have been holding them back, which I think is like super cool, identifying those for themselves. You can see just like these are the people who I've worked with, but they've all started with taking this assessment. And the assessment is really the thing that is almost like the launching pad for a lot of what they've been able to create inside of their business. They use this assessment. So I just have a couple of pictures here and some awesome wins that some people have had. You can see that a study shows over 30,000 participants with higher ARLs, that's your average resonating level of success, are more satisfied with every aspect of life. Every aspect, right? Relationships, communication, leadership ability, more satisfaction, okay? So for today, for the ELI assessment and debrief session, really the assessment alone is invaluable. It's invaluable. The assessment alone is gonna give you such awareness, but I wanna give also this debrief session, which is gonna be an hour-long session where we go through exactly the results and give you a roadmap to creating your level of success for yourself. And for all of that, it's gonna be $250 as an investment in you. So if you are interested in this, let's see, this is the QR code. You can just go ahead and take a picture of that, I believe is how QR codes work. Go ahead and zoom in on that. If you have any questions, I will be here during the day today. And I have a little notebook where you can sign up to stay in touch or get any, information that you may want. And that is all for today. So thank you guys so much. Does anyone have any questions?
No.